Omega, the first major goal of the Alpha, the never-ending chore for the established. The Omega status means many things to the EVE community, both in the past and in contemporary life. Some pay with money, and some pay with their in-game time. Today we will cover Plexing in its entirety, why you should consider it, how to do it, and the issues capsuleers come across while doing it. So welcome to Ruts Archive Cafe. Grab your drink of choice, and let's dive into Plexing. Omega allows capsuleers to train more skills, get access to more ships, and to gain access to certain activities. For some, the jump from Alpha to Omega is necessary, and for some, it's a luxury item. Currently, there are a few ways to pay for Omega time. The way that CCP wants you to do so is by buying the subscription or through their packs and deals. Many buy the subscription, but some are not able to for a variety of reasons. So what do we do about this? Well, we can make ISK within EVE to pay for our Omega time. While time intensive, it does allow for a non-monetary way to afford Omega. This process of using ISK for Omega is also very flexible, in that it does not matter what activity you do. With that said, I think that for many, this is the best way to gain Omega time. The core concept of Plexing isn't very difficult. You just make ISK from activities, and then buy Plex off the market. However, when new players look into Plexing for the first time, it can seem daunting and very out of reach. So, we're going to go over the basics of Plexing, as well as what not to do for first-timers. For sake of brevity, we are going to assume that you have picked an ISK-making activity, and have skilled into it to make the most ISK per hour you can as an alpha clone. There are many starter guides on this already, and I will provide links to them in the description. As a new player, once you have made your first 100 million ISK, or even your first billion, you may be tempted to try PvP, buy a load of new skills, or even buy skill injectors. Well, don't. Save your ISK. Saving your ISK will get you towards your goal of Omega. If you don't plan on going to Omega, then it's okay to spend ISK here and there, but saving ISK will honestly be your best friend. Now, you may be asking, how much should I save before getting Omega? Well, currently, 1 month of Omega costs 2.5 billion ISK. So, I would recommend having 3 to 5 billion saved before buying your first 500 Plex. Now that we have our ISK saved up to buy Omega, there's a couple of tips for buying Plex off the market. First, you should try to get your Plex by putting out buy orders. You'll end up saving ISK that way. Also, if possible, wait for Plex deals, discounts, special events, etc. when either the Plex price decreases or the required amount of Plex decreases. Now that we have our Omega time, you might be wondering what to do with it. Well, firstly, enjoy your newfound freedom. And secondly, my advice is to start skilling into your activity of choice to make better ISK per hour. After a while, you may find yourself wanting a second, a third, or even more Omega accounts. This comes with a couple of problems. Mainly, initial investment, activity scalability, and skilling. First, we should start with the initial investment. For every Omega account you want to start, you need to put 2.5 billion times the amount of months until they can make ISK for you. So, depending on what the account is for, you might have to sink a lot of ISK into the account. However, many activities have low skill point entries, where you can get your new accounts making ISK ASAP. One thing that can help initial investments, as well as continued plexing, is bulk buying Plex during sales, or general low points in the market. These are hard to predict. However, Plex discounts stick around for a while, so you will be able to capitalize off the price dip easily. When making new accounts, you need to keep in mind the scalability of your current ISK-making activity. Or, you will need to plan out what activity you can do in the background with it, i.e. industry or PI. The only activity that generally does not scale with accounts is exploration, but it is important to plan out how to scale your current activity and what skills your new alt needs to train. Scaling is an important part of managing multiple accounts. Programs like Evemon make it a lot easier to manage and create skilling plans for all your characters. Many capsuleers fall into ruts or start to have issues plexing their accounts. This is okay, and it's quite common. Many things can help these issues, and preventative measures can also be taken. Burnout is the most common problem that plagues EVE players. Burnout can happen for a variety of reasons, but most often it happens when one feels obligated to do their activities in EVE. Burnout often leads to quitting EVE, either temporarily or permanently. Burnout is something that happens to most EVE players at some point in their career, but it is often preventable. Proper expectation management, as well as acknowledging the amount of time that you can realistically dedicate to EVE, often helps prevent burnout occurring. Treating EVE as a game can also help prevent burnout, because if all you're focused on is plexing your accounts, then EVE may start to feel like a chore, or even a second job, which we really don't want. Burnout is often an indicator of taking on too many in-game obligations, either to others or to yourself in plexing and maintaining your accounts. Taking on too many obligations can increase your chance of burnout, and it's important to set limits on your playtime to realistic amounts and to not overload yourselves with things in EVE. We have now completed the cycle of plexing. We have learned how to plex, how to scale and continue plexing, and how to recognize problems that arise. Using this, I implore you to try and understand and possibly rework your plexing goals and workflow. With a new lens pointed at the subject, I hope that you can find a new way of thinking about EVE, or a new gameplay style that cuts the stress of plexing.